Have you ever thought as the subconscious as a partner in success? Well, that was the title of the previous chapter from the book titled The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And I want to talk a little bit about that before we go on to the next chapter because, the first thing that Dr. Joseph Murphy did was he jumped into defining success in the first sentence, and he was saying that success means successful living. At first, if you don't read anything else, you'd say, well, that's an oxymoron. You're using a word to define the word or the situation. Yet he does explain himself in the second sentence by saying that a long period of joy, happiness, and peace could be termed as success or successful living. And it is a loaded, sentence by saying that because it seems that there's other intangibles in it, like, well, if I'm peaceful, if I feel joy and I'm happy, then it's almost given that I might have love, right? And I'm not bothered because of my finances, and I'm also feeling well in my body. So, and he may have hit it on the nail with that. But he also did say that those things are intangibles and that they come from the deep part of our soul. These things that could be part of what we deem successful. And of course, I would say that for each one of us, we have our own definition of success. But then when we start really going to those deeper and deeper layers, it comes down to those intangible things, doesn't it? What do you think about that? Let me know in the comment. I am Daisy. Welcome to my channel. And if you just found us at this video and are interested in knowing about that previous chapter, please visit my book playlist and you will access all the chapters that came before this one there in my playlist. And to you, my subscribers, thank you so much for joining me on this journey, for being a part of my community here and leaving me comments. I really appreciate them. The whole chapter had a lot of goodies in it, but I'm going to share because I'm assuming you already read it, right? He mentioned that there are 3 things to success, and I'm going to share them with you. The first thing he says is that we need to know what we love to do. He says, know what are the things that you love. And that's the first thing that, we need to be clear on. And I have to tell you, I kept thinking about that. I says, well, now you're telling me. And it seems really hard, right? If you're trying to make a living, and sometimes you have to, it feels like you have to give up these passions so that you can, bring in the money so you can pay the bills. And it almost feels like you're giving up, the joys of the things that you love to do. Made me think about my life. It's like, did I really ever pursue the things that I wanted? Did I really know what I wanted to do? And I know that when I was a little girl, I wanted to express myself creatively, through art or just something that I could just express myself, and that it could be something that others would welcome it, right? I didn't know about making money. I mean, which kid really does, unless I guess you've got a dad who's into money and into business, right? I could see that. Let's get that lemonade stand going, and then immediately you've got an accountant and you got a business partner and you learn about marketing right away. Anyway, aside from that, this type of conversation should be had by all parents. It's like, what is it that you want in your life, talking and then being able to guide them along with whatever mentors you can get in the community and help from, teachers and schools and things like that. I think it's really important. That's why I think that these charter schools are good, because they focus either on science or art, and so the child, can nurture that as well. And I think that's also why after school activities are good too, because you can begin to see, do they like music? Do they like sports? Do they like all these other extra things? And then you can begin guiding your child a little bit. I don't know. But definitely, I do agree with Dr. Joseph Murphy. Find what you love to do. And I still think, at my age, it's never too late to go, find my passions. I love what I'm doing here because I love reading and I love growing my mind. And then in a way, by me being able to share this with you, I get to kind of, in a way, create non-tangible art through the way that I think and the way that I interpret what I'm reading. Even when I'm doing oracle readings through the tarot cards, it's my ability to create a different picture from what I'm seeing. And so, there you go. I do not want to digress. He also adds in here that, what if you're saying, well, I don't know what I love to do. I don't know what my passions are. And this is where Dr. Joseph Murphy says, well, this is where you need to pray, or you need to connect with that infinite intelligence and ask for that guidance to show you, what direction you need to go to kind of bring to surface what it is that you love. And he suggested that the answer will come, and it may come as a hunch, as an idea, but that it will come, it will, if you are patient. Then he said that the next step to success is to specialize in one particular thing. Pretty much don't be a jack of all trades, because being a jack of all trades, then you don't have enough to really provide that specialized knowledge that someone may be seeking. That's why, like in the branch of medicine, you have this big branch of medicine, but once you specialize in heart, that's one thing, or in eyes, that's another, or in babies, so then you become a specialist, and you can talk about that left and right with your eyes closed, because you're a specialist. And of course, guess what? You can command more money for that. And he adds also that you need to want it above everything. You need to want it, that actually, the work turns into pleasure. And that's when you know that you really found something that you love, that you forget about eating, you forget about sleeping, and money is not really an issue. It's just the pleasure of you doing it, the pleasure of something that moves you inside. And he adds that there's a third step, and he says that it is the most important step, and he says to make sure that you're not selfish. And he says that it must benefit others, it must benefit humanity, that it cannot be just to serve yourself. So those are the 3 pointers, and I believe that, I think when we find that, it's really a sure formula. And when you find people that are like that, driven, you seem to discover that they have these traits about them, that they're passionate, that they do it for the pleasure of doing it, and that what they do also benefits humanity. I mean, not to say anything, but I remember one of Bill Gates' statements was that he wanted that everyone should have a what is it called, a computer in their homes. And now look where we've upgraded. Now it's like we have a computer in our hands. Now, I may summarize the whole thing that the subconscious, whether it's for success or failure, I believe that the subconscious is our partner. We just need to make sure that we're wiring it for success, and that we're consulting it and trusting it when we go to it for guidance, and that we season. When I say that, I had a conversation with my mother, and we were talking about faith. Faith is believing in things that are not seen, and that they're coming to you. And I said, well, Mom, if we're a person of faith, right, then the prayer is not about the receiving. The prayers for patience, because sometimes our timeline seems to be screwed up, and we want to accelerate things. But I believe it's having the patience, knowing that what is coming is on its way. And I'm glad she agreed with me. So with that, we're going to go ahead now and jump now to chapter 12. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. Chapter 12. Scientists use the subconscious mind. Many scientists realize the true importance of the subconscious mind. Edison, Marconi, Kettering, Poincare, Einstein, and many others have used the subconscious mind. It has given them the insight and the know-how for all their great achievements in modern science and industry. Research has shown that the ability to bring into action the subconscious power has determined the success of all the great scientific and research workers. An instance of how a famous chemist, Friedrich von Stradonitz, used his subconscious mind to solve his problem is as follows. He had been working laboriously for a long time trying to rearrange the 6 carbon and the 6 hydrogen atoms of the benzene formula, and he was constantly perplexed and unable to solve the matter. Tired and exhausted, he turned the request over completely to his subconscious mind. Shortly afterward, as he was about to board a London bus, his subconscious mind presented his conscious mind with a sudden flash of a snake biting its own tail and turning around like a pinwheel. This answer from his subconscious mind gave him the long-sought answer of the circular arrangement of the atoms that is known as the benzene ring. how a distinguished scientist brought forth his inventions. Nikola Tesla was a brilliant electrical scientist who brought forth the most amazing innovations. When an idea for a new invention came into his mind, he would build it up in his imagination, knowing that his subconscious mind would reconstruct and reveal to his conscious mind all the parts needed for its manufacture in concrete form. Through quietly contemplating every possible improvement, he spent no time in correcting defects and was able to give the technicians the perfect product of his mind. He said, "Invariably, my device works as I imagined it should. In 20 years, there has not been a single exception." How a famous naturalist solved his problem. Professor Agassiz, a distinguished American naturalist, discovered the indefatigable activities of his subconscious mind while he slept. The following has been reported by his widow in her biography of her famous husband. He had been for 2 weeks striving to decipher the somewhat obscure impression of a fossil fish on the stone slab in which it was preserved. Weary and perplexed, he put his work aside at last and tried to dismiss it from his mind. Shortly after, he waked one night persuaded that while asleep he had seen his fish with all the missing features perfectly restored. But when he tried to hold and make fast the image, it escaped him. Nevertheless, he went early to the Jardin des Plantes, thinking that, on looking anew at the impression, he should see something which would put him on track of his vision. In vain. The blurred record was as black as ever. The next night, he saw the fish again, but with no more satisfactory result. When he awoke, it disappeared from his memory as before. Hoping that the same experience might be repeated, on the third night he placed a pencil and paper beside his bed before going to sleep. Accordingly, toward morning the fish reappeared in his dream, confusedly at first, but at last with such distinctness that he had no longer any doubt as to its zoological characters. Still half dreaming in perfect darkness, he traced these characters on the sheet of paper at the bedside. In the morning he was surprised to see in his nocturnal sketch features which he thought it impossible the fossil itself should reveal. He hastened to the Jardin des Plantes, and with his drawing as a guide, succeeded in chiseling away the surface of the stone under which portions of the fish proved to be hidden. When wholly exposed, it corresponded with his dream and his drawing, and he succeeded in classifying it with ease. Standing physician solved the problem of diabetes. Some years ago, I received a clipping from a magazine describing the origin of the discovery of insulin. This is the essence of the article as I recall it. About 40 years ago or more, Dr. Frederick Banting, a brilliant Canadian physician and surgeon, was concentrating his attention at the ravages of diabetes. At that time, medical science offered no effective method of arresting the disease. Dr. Banting spent considerable time experimenting and studying the international literature on the subject. One night, he was exhausted and fell asleep. While asleep, his subconscious mind instructed him to extract the residue from the degenerated pancreatic duct of dogs. This was the origin of insulin, which has helped millions of people. You will note that Dr. Banting had been consciously dwelling on the problem for some time, seeking a solution, a way out, and his subconscious responded accordingly. It does not follow that you will always get an answer overnight. The answer may not come for some time. Do not be discouraged. Keep on turning the problem over every night to the subconscious mind prior to sleep, as you had never done it before. One of the reasons for the delay may be that you look upon it as a major problem. You may believe it will take a long time to solve it. Your subconscious mind is timeless and spaceless. Go to sleep believing you have the answer now. Do not postulate the answer in the future. Have an abiding faith in the outcome. Become convinced now as you read this book that there is an answer and a perfect solution for you. How a famous scientist and physicist escaped from a Russian concentration camp. Dr. Lothar von Blank-Schmidt, a member of the Rocket Society and an outstanding research electronic engineer, gives the following condensed summary of how he used his subconscious mind to free himself from certain death at the hands of brutal guards in a Russian prison camp coal mine. He states as follows: I was a prisoner of war in a coal mine in Russia, and I saw men dying all around me in that prison compound. We were watched over by brutal guards, arrogant officers, and sharp, fast-thinking commissars. After a short medical checkup, a quota of coal was assigned to each person. My quota was 300 pounds per day. In case any man did not fill his quota, his small food ration was cut down, and in a short time he was rusting in the cemetery. I started concentrating on my escape. I knew that my subconscious mind would somehow find a way. My home in Germany was destroyed, my family wiped out. All my friends and former associates were either killed in the war or were in concentration camps. I said to my subconscious mind, I want to go to Los Angeles and you will find the way. I had seen pictures of Los Angeles and I remembered some of the boulevards very well as some of the buildings. Every day and night, I would imagine I was walking down Wilshire Boulevard with an American girl whom I met in Berlin prior to the war. She is now my wife. In my imagination, we would visit the stores, ride buses, and eat in the restaurants. Every night, I made it a special point to drive my imaginary American automobile up and down the boulevards of Los Angeles. I made all this vivid and real. These pictures in my mind were as real and as natural to me as one of the trees outside the prison camp. Every morning, the chief guard would count the prisoners as they were lined up. We would call out 1, 2, 3, etc. And when 17 was called out, which was my number in sequence, I stepped aside. In the meantime, the guard was called away for a minute or so, and on his return, he started by mistake on the next man as number 17. When the crew returned in the evening, the number of men was the same, and I was not missed, and the discovery would take a long time. I walked out of the camp undetected and kept walking for 24 hours, resting in a deserted town the next day. I was able to live by fishing and killing some wildlife. I found coal trains going to Poland and traveled on them by night until finally I reached Poland. With the help of friends, I made my way to Lucerne, Switzerland. One evening, at the Palace Hotel, Lucerne, I had a talk with a man and his wife from the United States of America. This man asked me if I would care to be a guest at his home in Santa Monica, California. I accepted, and when I arrived in Los Angeles, I found that their chauffeur drove me along Wilshire Boulevard and many other boulevards, which I had imagined so vividly in the long months in the Russian coal mines. I recognized the buildings which I had seen in my mind so often. It actually seemed as if I had been in Los Angeles before. I had reached my goal. I will never cease to marvel at the wonders of the subconscious mind. Truly, it has ways we know not of. How archaeologists and paleontologists reconstruct ancient scenes. These scientists know that their subconscious mind has a memory of everything that has ever transpired. As they study the ancient ruins and fossils through their imaginative perception, their subconscious mind aids them in reconstructing the ancient scenes. The dead past becomes alive and audible once more. Looking at these ancient temples and studying the pottery, statuary, tools, and household utensils of these ancient times, the scientist tells us of an age when there was no language. Communication was done by grunts, groans, and signs. The keen concentration and disciplined imagination of the scientist awakens the latent powers of his subconscious mind, enabling him to clothe the ancient temples with roofs and surround them with gardens, pools, and fountains. The fossil remains are clothed with eyes, sinews, and muscles, and they again walk and talk. The past becomes the living present, and we find that in mind there is no time or space. Through disciplined, controlled, and directed imagination, you can be a companion of the most scientific and inspired thinkers of all time. How to receive guidance from your subconscious. When you have what you term a difficult decision, to make, or when you fail to see the solution to your problem, begin at once to think constructively about it. If you are fearful and worried, you are not really thinking. True thinking is free from fear. Here is a simple technique you can use to receive guidance on any subject. Quiet the mind and still the body. Tell the body to relax. It has to obey you. It has no volition, initiative, or self-conscious intelligence. Your body is an emotional disk which records your beliefs and impressions. Mobilize your attention. Focus your thought on the solution to your problem. Try to solve it with your conscious mind. Think how happy you would be about the perfect solution. Sense the feeling you would have if the perfect answer were yours now. Let your mind play with this mood in a relaxed way, then drop off to sleep. When you awaken and you do not have the answer, get busy about something else. Probably when you are preoccupied with something else, the answer will come into your mind like a toast pops out of a toaster. In receiving the guidance from the subconscious mind, the simple way is the best. This is an illustration. I once lost a valuable ring which was an heirloom. I looked everywhere for it and could not locate it. At night, I talked to the subconscious in the same manner that I would talk to anyone. I said to it prior to dropping off to sleep, "You know all things. You know where that ring is, and you now reveal to me where it is." In the morning, I awoke suddenly with the words ringing in my ear, "Ask Robert." I thought it very strange that I should ask Robert, a young boy about 9 years of age. However, I followed the inner voice of intuition. Robert said, "Oh yes, I picked it up in the yard while I was playing with the boys. I placed it on the desk in my room. I did not think it worth anything, so I did not say anything about it." The subconscious mind will always answer you if you trust it. His subconscious revealed the location of his father's will. A young man who attends my lectures had this experience. His father died and apparently left no will. However, this man's sister told him that their father had confided to her that a will had been executed which was fair to all. Every attempt to locate the will failed. Prior to sleep, he talked to his deeper mind as follows. I now turn this request over to the subconscious mind. It knows just where that will is and reveals it to me. Then, he condensed his request down to one word, answer. Repeating it over and over again as a lullaby, he lulled himself to sleep with the word answer. The next morning, this young man had an overpowering hunch to go to a certain bank in Los Angeles where he found a safe deposit vault registered in the name of his father, the contents of which solved all his problems. Your thought, as you go to sleep, arouses the powerful latency which is within you. For example, let us suppose you are wondering whether to sell your home, buy a certain stock, sever partnership, move to New York or stay in Los Angeles, dissolve the present contract or take a new one. Do this. Sit quietly in your armchair or at the desk in your office. Remember that there is a universal law of action and reaction. The action is your thought. The reaction is the response from your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is reactive and reflexive. This is its nature. It rebounds, rewards, and repays. It is the law of correspondence. It responds by corresponding. As you contemplate right action, you will automatically experience a reaction or response in yourself, which represents the guidance or answer of your subconscious mind. In seeking guidance, you simply think quietly about right action, which means that you are using the infinite intelligence resident in the subconscious mind to the point where it begins to use you. From there on, your course of action is directed and controlled by the subjective wisdom within you, which is all-wise and omnipotent. Your decision will be right. There will only be right action because you are under a subjective compulsion to do the right thing. I use the word compulsion because the law of the subconscious is compulsion. The secret of guidance. The secret of guidance or right action is to mentally devote yourself to the right answer until you find its response in you. The response is a feeling, an inner awareness, an overpowering hunch whereby you know that you know. You have used the power to the point where it begins to use you. You cannot possibly fail or make one false step while operating under the subjective wisdom within you. You will find that all your ways are pleasantness and all your paths are peace. Highlights to recall. 1. Remember that the subconscious mind has determined the success and wonderful achievements of all great scientific workers. 2. By giving your conscious attention and devotion to the solution of a perplexing problem, your subconscious mind gathers all the necessary information and presents it full-blown to the conscious mind. 3. If you are wondering about the answer to a problem, try to solve it objectively. Get all the information you can from research and also from others. If no answer comes, turn it over to your subconscious mind prior to sleep, and the answer always comes. It never fails. 4. You do not always get the answer overnight. Keep on turning your request over to your subconscious mind until the day breaks and the shadows flee away. 5. You delay the answer by thinking it will take a long time or that it is a major problem. Your subconscious has no problem. It knows only the answer. 6. Believe that you have the answer now. Feel the joy of the answer and the way you would feel if you had the perfect answer. Your subconscious will respond to your feeling. 7. Any mental picture backed by faith and perseverance will come to pass through the miracle working power of your subconscious. Trust it, believe in its power, and wonders will happen as you pray. 8. Your subconscious is the storehouse of memory, and within your subconscious are recorded all your experiences since childhood. 9. Scientists meditating on ancient scrolls, temples, fossils, etc. are able to reconstruct scenes of the past and make them alive today. Their subconscious mind comes to their aid. 10. Turn over your request for a solution to your subconscious prior to sleep. Trust it and believe in it, and the answer will come. It knows all and sees all, but you must not doubt or question its powers. 11. The action is your thought, and the reaction is the response of your subconscious mind. If your thoughts are wise, your actions and decisions will be wise. 12. Guidance comes as a feeling, an inner awareness, an overpowering hunch whereby you know that you know. It is an inner sense of touch. Follow it. End of chapter. Like, share, and subscribe. Let's head over to the next video as we continue on with the book titled The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy.